Hey guys, so it is mid-July and we've had some rain the last few days, kind of like monsoon rain, but it finally cleared up. I've got a summer cold. Little one has a summer cold. We're all fighting summer colds. But yesterday we harvested our carrots. We got about 20 pounds of baby carrots. And the reason why I say baby carrots is because when we sowed them earlier this spring, I just didn't thin them out. And I did that just because last year we didn't do it either, but we also had less seeds that we sowed. So anyway, 98% of them are already canned and processed. We have a second row that we started earlier this month, I want to say, and they're already germinated, so that will be harvested at the end of the fall. And those, I actually used one of our daughter's toys. It's kind of like a little net for her water table, and it has little holes on the bottom, so it creates like that waterfall effect. And so the carrot seeds are small enough that they can get through there, so I kind of did like a little sieve action and just tapped it all around the surface area of the row that we have to plant. So those are actually spaced pretty wide, and I'm hoping that we will get a larger yield on that based off of weight. So now what we're doing is just turning the garden around, and we're getting it ready for the fall planting. So we already harvested one of the heads of cabbage. It's in the kitchen. We've used about half of it. We'll probably turn that into sauerkraut, and we still have like a handful of cabbage heads. They didn't grow very big. I'm going to show you. They're not that big, but they are ready. And the way that you can test them is you just give them a squeeze in the middle, and if they're firm, they should be ready to harvest. But you see we had cabbage moths in here already because there was a breach in the system. So they laid their eggs, but I mean, you can see the little tiny eggs right here. But we're gonna harvest these and then slice them up and make some sauerkraut. We did buy some of the fermentation kits from Walmart. So these, how they got more of an oblong shape instead of being nice and full and round. And I think it's because of the heat that we had. So instead of letting them go all the way and be bolting, these things grow awfully funny. But instead of them just going out and bolting, we're just gonna pick them. And the broccoli, the same thing. The broccoli bolted as soon as we came back from the Homestead festival. We got some small heads. I wasn't very excited about it, but we're gonna restart the broccoli here soon. This is a different variety. I originally planted the Bell Star on the other side of the row, and they bolted very quickly. There is a butterfly or cabbage moth at its work. I despise those things. But anyway, this is coming to head pretty nicely, but it's starting to yellow around, so you want to be careful with that. But I'm probably just gonna cut that up and then slice it. And then these have little side shoots. So let me show you the rest of the garden. What are you doing?
I am trying to get rid of all these wild violets that are taking over the small side of our garden.
Yeah.
And losing a lot of water weight right now. It's hot. There's a nice breeze though, so that helps. But yeah, these violets, they take over. They mat the ground, and they're so hard to get rid of because I've designed a little tool. I've kind of copied a little tool that I saw off the internet, but it's just I took a piece of metal, bent it into a hook, and then sharpened one side of it so I can dig down in and get the tubers.
So it's kind of like that Korean hand.
Yeah, I can't remember
weeder.
the tool that I've copied it off of, but I saw it online. I was like, well, I can make that. So I had some, just some scrap metal laying around and kind of just sharpened up the edge. But these tubers are so hard to get rid of. You've got to get down underneath the plant, and they come up. You could easily just weed eat all this down, but if you don't get these tubers that's below the surface of the dirt, they just keep popping right back up. So it's tough.
All right, so here are these are the violets, and in the springtime they're really pretty. They have these little blue flowers, and you can kind of treat them kind of like butterfly peas. You boil some water, you pour it over the violets, let it sit, and then you can make some colored lemonade or whatever. There is a cabbage moth on a violet. But here are the baby carrots. So hopefully they grow into some big carrots. And I did harvest some of the beans. I have a short that they were rattlesnake beans and a couple of pink half runners. These down here are kidney beans. I think some of them are kidney beans and some of them are black turtle beans. But they're starting to turn yellow. These you cannot eat raw. They are toxic. So you want to wait until they are dry to harvest them. And right in here I have my holy basil. And the garden is a mess right now just because we've been doing a lot of work and not paying attention to actually cleaning it. These two behemoths are the world's tiniest tomatoes. I think the spoon tomatoes are actually smaller, but they're starting to ripen up and they are really tiny. You can see here they're little, and I planted these for our little girl to just pick, but she doesn't give them time to ripen up. She's just like her mama. These are the determinate beefsteak tomatoes. They take a little bit longer to start ripening up, so they're still just kind of hanging in there. Those are the beans, and I have a couple of little sunflowers. I can't remember which variety these are. I just wanted to spread some seeds around. Here are some more sunflowers, and they are growing beautifully. Here are my green stalks with some lettuce. This is Jericho romaine lettuce. And they're starting to go up to seed. I do want to keep the seeds for next year. And I had some butter crunch and iceberg, but we were just using these just to cut as we go for loose leaf lettuce. So I'm gonna have to refill this, but you can see all of this stuff is going to seed. Here's another one going to seed, and then on the bottom I had some Swiss chard, but I want to go ahead and probably strip this out and then maybe do some more lettuce for the fall. Here is my other green stalk. On the top I have some lemon balm, I have some garden sage, some basil. Here's some more holy basil starting to go to seed. Here's some marjoram. This rosemary smells delicious. And then here's my cilantro going to seed. Once it does turn to seed, you can use it as coriander. And then here's my parsley. I tried growing some edamame beans in here and they did not take very well. I got maybe a handful of edamames to cook. And then we've got some cinnamon basil. I've got to harvest some of that because it will go to seed. This is some culantro that I have to start clipping, and then I can freeze them until I'm ready to use it. This is some more sweet basil. Let's bring you around here. So here are some heirloom varieties. It's just an heirloom mix. And you can see these violets are just taking over everything. And the problem is, so violets will start to take over primarily when there's a location of no sun and no grass. So if there is grass, they obviously have some competition that they have to survive with. But in our case, where we're doing the back to Eden method, there is no grass growing, and half of the garden is in the shade. So of course the violet rhizomes can take off and grow. Okay, so now here we have some eggplants. These are Puerto Rican eggplants. And these, I don't know what kind of variety these are. Whoop, there's a leaf. But they're more on the elongated side. They're not really filling up like a black beauty. So, I just swallowed a bug. Yuck. Wow, it was a flea beetle. And if you've never seen what a flea beetle does, that is the damage. And here are those little flea beetles. It's really sunny outside, so I can't see what in the world I'm filming. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, the flea beetles will put all these little tiny holes on the leaves of the plants. But that's okay, because they don't really do anything. I mean, they can decimate your plants if your plants aren't healthy enough, but I've never had, knock on wood, I've never had one of my plants completely die because of flea beetle damage. Here's some okra. I have a huge row of okra just because I wish I had some more last year. We breaded them and fried them a lot, so this year I planted a whole ton of them. Here is my little oddball tomato plant from my heirloom variety. I do want to keep seeds, so I'm probably going to wait until these are a little bit more ripe, maybe. Well, never mind. I'm going to take this and ferment the seeds to save them, and then we will have some more of these next year. But this was the only plant that came out of the packet when I sowed them. So, oh man, here's a severely cat-faced tomato. It's grown all wonky. There's a lot of blushers here now that the tomatoes are starting to ripen up. Here's another crazy cat-faced tomato. So this one had multiple blossoms fuse. So, and I have not seen any tomato hornworm damage, thank goodness. But I also have not checked at night. But yeah, if you see, all this is tomatoes, and I have 182 plants of tomatoes, which it's the most that I've ever grown. And a lot of them are for tomato sauce and paste, and then some of them I just grew for slicers or to make salsa. So let me show you the rest of the garden. These I planted, these are beans, and they are pole beans. These are the yin yang beans, or the orca beans, and they're very beautiful. They are a drying variety, so I'm going to dry them and probably make some, just leave them to dry, or make some canned beans. And I actually found a recipe for baked beans, and I'd like to try them. But these are the other okra plants. And I have some nasturtiums here. I guess these are trailing nasturtiums. I got these from the Grow Your Own program that we're part of, and they're beautiful. It's like a scarlet orange color, very bright, vibrant. Here's a roselle plant. They're finally taken off. And on this row I have all my peppers. So to the right of the roselle plants are hot peppers. And then to the left of the plants are my sweet peppers. Let's go check them out.
Let's pick one.
Here is my, I believe these are cayenne peppers. So these, you can let them turn red and then dehydrate them and powder them up to make chili powder. You can string them to let them dry. You can use them green. They're pretty spicy. Oh man. Well. I'm gonna have to tie this one up, but plants are amazing, guys. Look at that. She was knocked on the floor and she is growing upward. So resilient. These are my giant pumpkins. Well, I have one here. I have two different varieties here. I've got a Big Moon and a Big Max, I think. But these are some giant pumpkins here. So we're not going to let them get very, very large, but just large enough to where they'll be good, like Halloween pumpkins. So if you're local and you want to grab some pumpkins for carving, let me know. Here are some more roselle plants. This one is really doing fantastic. There's no flowers on it yet because we have had a ton of rain. And then here are my ground cherries. They're not ready yet, like almost everything else, but she really took off. She really likes it being out here. So the thing with ground cherries, if you have never grown them, these little husks, they're similar to green tomatillos. And oh, hello. You're looking for flowers? Before I started chasing squirrels, you want to make sure that the husk turns like a yellow color. Usually they will be probably, I'd say, about this color or so. And then that means that they're ready to be picked. You don't want to eat them green because they are toxic, but I think you have to eat a lot of them. Here's some more tomatoes for your viewing pleasure. And all this grass here, I got impatient and I just put the tomatoes in before we could weed eat, but I don't see a problem with it. And all of the tomatoes and the plants are doing fine. Some of them are spotted like this. However, we have had, like I said before, a crap ton of rain. So my phone overheated. And it gave me the warning that my phone needed to cool off before I can use it again. So, anyway, what I was saying about the tomatoes, I did sow them very closely, about every upright, between each upright of the cattle panel. And so far they have been doing okay. There were spots on some of the leaves. I'm going to show you. So anything like this, people might mistake this for like blight or just some kind of sickness. See how the leaves are spotted? And in some cases, I mean, it very well may be blight. However, we have had a bunch of rain, so I am not concerned with it. None of my tomatoes are looking diseased. Everything is looking okay. The furthest thing that we have from blight would be like, I don't know, or the closest thing would be just cat facing. But everything looks healthy. And so I don't have a care in the world. My tomatoes are looking okay. See, like stuff like this, if you are concerned about this, you can just cut off the, oh, well, there goes that. You can just cut off the leaves, and I mean, something like this is just dry. See? No harm, no foul. There are some flies getting down with each other. That's kind of weird. Yuck. Anyway, let me continue my garden tour. This is pretty neat because these are my purple bell peppers. They are a smaller plant, unless it was just mine that stayed smaller, because you can see the height difference here. But I know I have some peppers in here that are pretty good size. We might just let these grow a little bit more because it is on the firmer side. But here's another one. They're so pretty. Here are some squashes. Yeah, butternut squash. I have one in there, and I mean, it's just, it looks like Jurassic Park in here. Like if I was to film down here, it'd be a scene from Jurassic Park. How cool is that? So I do have everything planted relatively close, but as of right now, things are looking okay. I'm not concerned. I did rip out those zucchini and squash plants because they didn't seem like they were going to produce anymore. We harvested what we were gonna, and we ripped out the rest. I do have some straight neck squash growing in the greenhouse in the soil blockers, so I might put those there, or I might just put my blue Hubbard squashes and hope that the vine borers don't get to them. But I plan on putting a cattle panel here between these two. Let me show you. Put a cattle panel from this edge all the way to this edge, kind of like what I have there. That is the infamous rainbow arch. On this side, right here, you can see the leaves are wilted because of the heat, but on that side are calabazas, and then on the left side are the tromboncino squashes. And then here I have some red onions, and further down I have some Walla Walla onions, which are almost ready to harvest. I'll show you. Down here are my garden beans. We have 220 beans, and I planted way more because we do eat a lot of beans, and I don't know if the robins were going to be picking my beans. And here are my onions. They should be almost ready to harvest. You want to harvest when your tops are brown and fallen over, kind of like garlic. And then here's some more. These have not formed scapes. I don't know, this is my first year really growing onions, especially from seed. So I don't know if these are going to form scapes. If they do, then great. If they don't and they die back before they form scapes, then I mean that's okay too. Here are some cantaloupe plants. I don't see any baby cantaloupes yet. I know I saw one. Let's see. Let me find one first. Okay, so I chased a rabbit hole. This is dandelion root and the greens. And the greens you can wash up and just eat it in like a salad. And then the root, you can just set it out to dry and make teas, grind it up. I guess you can put it in smoothies and stuff if you grind it up and make it into a powder. I don't know, I haven't used it yet, but I'll probably save this and just put it in my to-do box. There is a baby cantaloupe. They're teeny tiny. I think this variety is a heart of gold. There's another one. They've actually taken a little bit on the longer side to start sprawling out and growing. We're in Virginia, zone 6B, and it has been, I'm sure it's been like this everywhere around, but it has been unusually cool for the temperature, for the time, you know, that we're living in. So usually at this point in July, I mean, it's beating hot, and it's actually pretty cool today. It's warm, but like I said, with all that rain that we've had, I don't know. Some years are better than others. Back to the garden though. So all these little flowers are cantaloupe baby flowers, hopefully. There's a little guy pollinating, if you can see. Let me see if I can find him. Here is my first tromboncino squash. So you can pick them like this and eat them like a summer squash, or you can let them ripen a little bit more and let them store, and they will be like a winter squash. And as you can see, the leaves are rather healthy. So we have not had any pest pressure. There's a little ant. But she's been very easy to just train up and trellis. I've got to tuck this in when it gets a little bit further around. And then I just took an old t-shirt and ripped it to make a little hammock. Here I have another calabaza. These are absolutely delicious. Goodbye, cucumber beetle. But yeah, these will turn a lighter shade, and then what I like to do is just cube them out, freeze them, and then use them in stews or with beans or whatever. There's another little baby one, but I don't know. Oops. I don't know if that one's gonna do anything. And here I have two other tromboncino squash plants intertwined. There's another baby. I've tried to train this one up. I'll probably do it after the video. But yeah, now you see the giant pumpkins migrating and coming this way. I did cut this back 2 times, and both times it's grown back with a vengeance. So I think the next time, and this was an experimentation with myself that I had for myself, but I think next time I'm just gonna set a patch to keep it designated for pumpkins. And of course this year, you know, I wanted to see how big they would get. I think I have like 6 plants in here, and I ripped some of them out. You can see I just tossed them to the side. All of this has to be cleaned out, but here are our watermelon plants. These are Klondike watermelons, some more nasturtiums. These I grew from seed. These are so pretty. And then these were my sugar baby watermelons. They're kind of struggling. You can see I have a little baby here. And then there's another one here. The leaves are kind of looking not too great. And then this one, she's just curled all the way to pieces. But we're still getting babies, so I don't know what the plan is, if she's just hanging on for dear life. You get back there. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with them. Who knows? I mean, they haven't died back. Oh, here's a baby. Hello, little fella. How cute. So my husband was bugging me all spring long. He wanted his pumpkins. Or watermelons. He wanted his watermelons. So I made sure to plant him some extra watermelons so he could leave me alone. This one, I don't know what she's decided to do. She's just kind of in limbo land. But if you could feel the heat in here, like with the pumpkins and the leaves and everything, it's hot, man. So, I think the plan going forward for this garden, let me show you. Look at all this. It's a jungle. It is absolutely wild. The plan is, like I was saying, get these beans up. We had the potatoes here. We actually harvested 106 pounds of potatoes just from this row alone. And I think this is like about 75 feet or so. We'll get those beans in. They're about a 50-day variety. They're just regular stringless garden beans. We'll get those up. We might be able to sow another round somewhere else. The next step would be, we have Puerto Rican black beans down there, right in here. These are our drying variety. I'll walk over there in a second. I don't know if you all are like me, but I get so excited when I get in the garden that I just start jumping around and literally chasing squirrels. And I can't keep my attention on one specific row because I look up and I'm like, oh, there's that. And then a squirrel on you. But look, Puerto Rican black beans. These are a vining variety, so that means I'm gonna have to trellis this up. Probably just do a couple of sticks in here, throw some twine, kind of Florida weave them, just to let them, Japanese beetles, just to let them do their own thing. This is a drying variety, so that means you want to let everything die back, let the pods turn yellow, and then let them dry, shell them, and at this rate, I will probably keep some of these for seeds for next year, because this is not going to be enough to can and put back. So sometimes, sometimes gardening is about giving up space to prepare for the next season. And I didn't really get that until you decide, do I want to keep spending money on buying seeds, or do I want to create my own heritage, legacy, heirloom, whatever you want to call it, and keep something from the land that I grew? So that's my little spiel. But yeah, those beans are definitely not enough. We'll probably need a couple of rows to do dry beans. But we bought some organic, what do you call these? Sweet potatoes. Bought some sweet potato slips from our local, I knew it. That's a cat turd. And we've had some cats coming into our garden. My neighbor feeds feral cats, which of course, I guess if you feed them, they're not really feral. She says she can't get rid of them, but whatever. But yeah, I don't have a problem with people keeping feral cats and feeding them until they start coming into my garden and start pooping all over my food. So, and it's a very distinctive smell that just makes me want to like turn my nose up and say bad things, but I'm not going to. So what I'm going to do is scoop that turd up and flick it. I feel like I can just taste the poop particles in my mouth. That's disgusting. Moving on. Here are the rest of the sweet potato slips, and they're actually doing very well. So, is that another turd? No. So these will just kind of do their own thing, and they should be ready to harvest by the end of maybe August, maybe September, depending on how much rain we get. So, that seems to be it for now. I'm going to get my little bucket and a shovel, or just a stick, and shovel that poop into the bucket and flick it over the property and move on with my day, because I'm not going to let a pile of poop ruin it for me today. Life gets hard sometimes, and you just literally have to kick the poop over and just keep going. Am I right or am I right? So I will give you a quick glance of the complete garden, and I will leave you at that. So, I hope you enjoyed my little quick garden tour. This is a little high. And had some chuckles as I swallowed some bugs and talked about all things gardening in my garden. I'm gonna go get back to work, and I hope to see you guys back.